In this video, I'm going to compare the much improved 2023 Toyota Sequoia versus the sturdy 2023 Ford Expedition. Although the two truck-based SUVs went through recent redesigns, they differ from each other in some important aspects. So in this versus video, I'm going to compare 5 categories, including interior, powertrain, exterior, the drive, and the price. So which SUV is going to win and which one is better for you? Well, keep watching and find out. Number 1, exterior. When it comes to the exterior, these SUVs made wildly different choices when it came to their redesign. The Toyota Sequoia made some bold changes to the exterior for the 2023 model, which makes sense since it's been 10 years since the last update. The old bubbly shape is no longer. The new Sequoia looks a lot more square and boxy, and generally more masculine and more aggressive, and more like a truck. The best part of Sequoia exterior is that it looks great no matter where you are. Doesn't matter if you're in front of a lumber yard or in the middle of the desert. I think Toyota really nailed it when it comes to the exterior look of the new Sequoia. Now, as for the Expedition, Ford played it a lot more safe. The redesigned Expedition kept the same shape, same chassis, same frame, so it's more of a refresh, as Ford focused mostly on cosmetic changes. However, the changes do make the Expedition look a lot more modern. The grille design has been reshaped, same thing with the headlights. They look more like F-150 headlights now, and also if you look at the back, things have changed slightly, so there's no confusion. The new Expedition still looks like a Ford Expedition. So when it comes to which SUV has a better exterior, I would say this is a tie. And that's because looks are subjective. So which one do you prefer? Number 2, powertrain. Both powertrains for the new Sequoia and Expedition are as powerful as they come, but they differ in many ways. And both of these big SUVs are now powered by twin-turbo V6 engines. However, they are still very different. The new 2023 Toyota Sequoia opts for a twin-turbo V6, but it's also paired with a hybrid motor. Together, it's producing a monstrous 437 horsepower and 583 pound-feet of torque. Now, because of the increase in power, Sequoia can now tow over 9,000 pounds, which is a huge improvement over the last generation. And also because it is a hybrid, the V6 is a lot less thirsty than its V8 predecessor. The 2023 model can now get 20 miles per gallon, where the previous one only got 14 miles per gallon. And the Sequoia is also much faster now. 0 to 60 comes in under 6 seconds. Now, like the Sequoia, the Expedition also switched from a big V8 to a twin-turbo V6. The Expedition gets around 380 horsepower normally, but with higher trim levels, like the Platinum trim or the Stealth package, that power gets boosted up to 440 horsepower and 500 pound-feet of torque. This engine is basically a F-150 Raptor engine. And the new Expedition can also tow over 9,000 pounds with this brand new engine. So for this category, since both SUVs produce nearly the same amount of power, the win should go to the Sequoia because of the increased fuel efficiency. However, real-world driving shows that the Sequoia is far from its EPA estimates. Cars.com tested both and saw the Sequoia achieving only 15 miles per gallon in local driving versus 19 for the Expedition. And I gotta say, the week that I had the Sequoia, my trip computer also hovered around 15 miles per gallon around the city. Another concern is that the Sequoia's twin-turbo hybrid setup is unproven and could be costly to fix down the road. So I'm awarding the win to the Expedition. As for the interior, both SUVs have been significantly upgraded from the previous generation. The Toyota Sequoia is greatly improved, although inside is still very truck-like. It has big vents, big screens, big buttons, knobs. The infotainment system got a much-needed boost. It is now a horizontally mounted 14-inch screen and has a great new interface and supports wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto. Now, the Expedition also has a giant screen, in fact even bigger at 15.5 inches if you opt for it, but it is mounted vertically. The infotainment system is modernized, although I say the Toyota one is much easier to use. Now, the new Expedition does also get a brand new cabin. It looks very truck-like. It reminds me of the interior of an F-150. However, However, I would say the overall cabin quality, fit and finish, and styling goes to the new Sequoia. But there is one thing that the Sequoia struggles against the Expedition, and that is space. Even though the Sequoia has generous space in the first and second rows, it struggles in the third row and cargo room behind the third row. The third row seating of the Sequoia feels cramped with the seats way too low to the ground. Also, the cargo room feels small and the floor is not flush with the seats. You have to use this built-in shelf to make it flush, but it's just not the same thing. The Expedition does not have these problems. The Expedition is spacious in all three rows, and there is still plenty of cargo room behind the third row. And this is mostly because Ford moved to an independent rear suspension for the Expedition, while the Sequoia still uses a live axle setup. And plus, the Sequoia still has a battery underneath the rear seats that also takes up some space. So for this category, it's very close, but I give the edge to the Expedition. Even though I love the new interior to the Sequoia, Expedition's spacious seating in all three rows plus its enormous cargo room gives it the win. Number 4, the drive. As mentioned before, this brand new 2023 Sequoia still unfortunately uses a live axle setup. Now, live axle is better for people that do want to go off-road because you do get more wheel articulation. So when you're climbing big rocks and cliffs, it definitely helps with traction. Unfortunately, live axle doesn't help when you're driving on a pavement, and I could feel that live axle over every single bump and imperfection I came across. The body rattles, and there's a lot of shuddering, and often this is on pretty even pavement. I was expecting a new Sequoia to be more plush and providing a smoother ride. The Expedition, on the other hand, had less body rattles and shudders, and that's because, of course, the independent rear suspension. The large SUV just rode nicer over most conditions. Now, cabin noise for both SUVs are quite low. Steering feel and brake feel are comparable for both SUVs. However, with quick stop and goes, I did feel a little bit more shuddering from the transmission of Sequoia. Not quite sure why. So for this category, I'm giving the win to the Expedition simply because it rides better than the Sequoia, and I do think Ford made the right choice with their suspension setup. Number 5, pricing. As for pricing, neither of these large SUVs come cheap. The new Toyota Sequoia has a base price around $58,000, but of course, there are many trim levels including the Capstone and the TRD Pro, which could drive things up close to $75,000, $76,000. And there are just a few little options you could add in, but overall, you'll find a fully loaded Toyota Sequoia coming in under $80,000. Now, as for the Expedition, it has a similar base price under $60,000. However, its top end goes way higher than $84,000. And that's because there are a lot of features that you can add on and they are quite expensive. So for this category, I'm awarding the win to Toyota. The Sequoia has a lower base price and a lower top end price, and you're getting a whole lot for your money. This versus battle looks very one-sided. The Sequoia and Expedition tied in exterior looks. The Sequoia won in pricing. However, the Expedition won in powertrain, interior, and the drive. But there are 2 more categories I didn't mention, and they are resale value and reliability. Clearly, these 2 go to Toyota based on its history alone, but keep in mind this new Sequoia is unproven at this point, so I didn't factor these 2 things in. Overall, both of these big full-size SUVs are winners in their own way. Which one do you prefer? Leave your thoughts below. Thanks for watching. Smash up the like, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more versus videos and more review videos coming up.